right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, my name is Krista Jade, and I'm the Associate Director in Housing Assignments. We also have two staff members who are going to be here in the background from Housing Assignments as well to help respond to any questions that you may have. And then we also have Kristen Anderson here from Dining, who will chat with you all as soon as I finish up. So today we'll be talking about housing assignments, what the process looks like, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what your dining experience will look like here on campus with us. A few housekeeping notes. The session is being recorded, so if you can't stay for the whole time, or if you know other folks who weren't able to join, that recording will be shared out. And then if you could put all of your questions in the chat, feel free to message just the host if you like, and we'll respond to you as soon as we are able to do that. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get started. And so first, we're going to talk about the 26-27 housing process specifically as it relates to transfer students. So we do have a live-on requirement, so we just want to be kind of clear and upfront with this in the beginning so that there's no surprises later on. So we have a 3-year, 6-semester live-on requirement. So if you have lived on campus at your previous institution, please email us a proof of residency, including dates to housing@duke.edu. And they're really easy to obtain. You can reach out to the housing department at your previous institution and they'll be able to provide those documents for you. And then you just send that to us and we'll make note of that live-on requirement of those dates that you have to support meeting your live-on requirement. So, if you study abroad, that semester abroad also counts towards your requirement. So, traditionally, students will come into Duke and they'll live on campus their first year and sophomore year, and then one of the semesters for their junior year is the other year or other semesters typically studying abroad. And then for senior year, students are eligible to live off campus, but they certainly can apply to live on campus if they choose to. And as of right now, about half of our senior class chooses to live on campus with us for their senior year. So we're really excited about that, and we hope that you will want to also. So the process timeline. The application will open Monday on June 1st, and you'll be able to access that via the housing portal. You will have to fully matriculate by the time before you apply for housing. So you'll need your net ID, you'll need your Duke email address, and being able to log in and have your password set up before you'll be able to access the housing portal and therefore the application. So for some of you, if you don't matriculate until after June 1st, that's totally okay. But the application does open on June 1st for those who have already matriculated into Duke. And then the priority deadline is Thursday, June 18th. So the application will stay open all the way through August, but if you are able to apply by June 18th, then you will be part of the first round of assignments that will go out in mid-July. And then move-in is on Monday, August 17th. So again, when I talked about matriculating, you can matriculate fully in on June 17th and still have as good of an assignment outcome as if you had applied on June 1st. So as long as you get your application in by June 18th at noon, the time and date in which you submit your application does not actually impact your assignment in terms of making it quote unquote better or worse. So just make sure you get that application in by June 18th at noon. And to briefly talk about our application, so you do need to submit it before that priority window in order to receive assignment in mid-July. Otherwise, we won't process your application until later in July, likely early August. And the date and time you submit your application have no impact on your assignment outcome as long, again, as you submit it prior to June 18th at noon. And you can edit your application as many times as you need leading up to that point. The application itself is fairly simple, especially for new to Duke students. So transfer students being new to Duke, you'll go through that application and you will provide us your room type preference. So if you want a single room versus a double room, and then if you happen to have a preferred roommate, you'll be able to indicate that on the housing application. Um, but that's really it. That's really all the information we need from you, along with your lifestyle preferences. So we'll ask you questions about, do you like to get up early? Do you like to study in your room when it's quiet or loud? How many visitors do you like in your space? And those questions will help us match you with a roommate. But assignments are completely random. So we try really hard to honor the philosophy that we have with our first year incoming students, and that this is a new community, a new space, and we really want you to be able to forge lifelong connections with folks you might otherwise not have ever met. And so for our first years, their roommate and their building that they're assigned to are completely random. And so that's the same for our new to Duke students as well. And so specifically transfer students, your assignment is random. You'll likely be assigned to a double room on Main West campus within one of the main 7 quads. And so we had a transfer visit day recently, and if you were able to join us, that was great. But I talked a lot about what those quads were. So that's Craven, Kroll, Few, Kilgo, Cohane, Edens, and Wanamaker. So those are the main 7 quads. So you'll be right on West Campus in the heart of the community, and be assigned randomly within one of those buildings. I shared this previously. You can identify a preferred roommate if you have one, but if not, that's okay. We will assign you a roommate, and we will do our best to match class years. So majority of transfer students coming in are of sophomore status. So we'll try and assign you a sophomore roommate. But if you do happen to be coming in as a junior, that's totally okay too. And we'll try and assign you a junior roommate. And then also we'll try and assign you a roommate that matches your gender preferences. So you can indicate on your application the preference that you have for your roommate's gender. And then we'll do our best to match you up based upon the lifestyle questions that you respond to also. Then, if you do have any housing needs related to a documented disability, we do recommend you start working with Student Disability and Access as soon as you matriculate. That way, you can get the kind of housing accommodations or even testing accommodations, academic accommodations, whatever that might look like for you. The office manages both housing and academic needs. So, as soon as you matriculate, you can reach out to that office and they'll start working with you through that process so that by the time we process your application, hopefully you'll have any housing accommodations on file that you might need. So if you work with Student Disability and Access, you can set everything up with them directly online, and their website is here on the presentation. You'll start the process online, upload medical documentation that you have to support your request, and then you'll meet with the case manager virtually. So all of that can be done from the comfort of your own home, if you will. And then if you do receive a housing accommodation as an outcome of that process, they notify us directly that you have that housing accommodation, and you don't even need to do, kind of any of the middle work of making sure that we have the accommodation on file, etc. And then we'll do our best to meet that accommodation at the time in which we process your housing application. And I did not put this on here, but I should have. I'm remiss. We do have a faith-based housing exception process also. So when you go to the housing portal after you matriculate, if you have faith-based practices that might come into conflict with our usual housing practice and policy, then you can go through the faith-based exception process and request a specific type of housing amenity that might better support your faith-based practices. So that is a separate process, just like student disability is a separate process. But that form is directly on the housing portal. So after you matriculate and apply for housing, you can go through that process as well. All right, so I've talked a lot about the housing application, what the assignments process looks like, where you can expect to be living on campus, and I also have provided here some resources available to you to learn even more information. I highly recommend going to our website. Right now, you can go and you can see information about the 7 quads that I highlighted previous in the presentation. There's also the link there that you can get to from the website as well, but I also have it here on the presentation for the housing portal. And that really is your one-stop shop for all things you may need to submit and do for housing. So it has housing applications, the faith-based exception form that I mentioned. Through the housing application, you will select your meal plan But when and if you may want to change your meal plan, that change form will also be on the housing portal. So basically, all of your forms and actions you might need to take as it relates to housing will be on the housing portal. You can always email us at housing@duke.edu. That's probably the best way to get, or the quickest way to get a response is by emailing us. We have lots of different staff members that can jump in and assist with the inbox when we need to. And so when you email us, we'll be sure to give you a prompt and thorough response. And then you always can schedule an appointment with us. So if you have more unique needs or something that you want to talk through in more depth, on our website, you'll see a spot where you can book a meeting with one of our staff members. It's a virtual meeting, but you can do all the scheduling of it right online at your convenience. And then you would meet with someone from the Housing Assignments Office directly, and we can kind of talk through whatever your needs might be at that point in time. All right, so some really brief reminders, and then Kirsten's going to come on and talk to you from Duke Dining. So, as a reminder, the application opens on June 1st. You can't apply until you have fully matriculated, so you'll need your net ID and password to be able to log in to the housing portal in order to apply. The priority date is June 18th at 12 p.m. noon. And then, if you have any questions, you can always email us at housing@duke.edu. All right, I am going to stop sharing and hand it over to Kirsten.
All right. Hey guys, how are you? Nice to see everybody. Can you see me? My camera was acting a little funky.
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm just going to share my screen. And let's get to, all right. Can everybody see this?
Yep, it looks great.
Perfect. Okay. Well, again, welcome. I'm Kirsten Anderson. I'm the Director of Communications for Duke Dining. Happy to be with you all today. I'm just going to start off. I've put some contact information on the bottom of the screen, our website. And then if you want to contact us via email or phone, you can find that information there as well. And then for any type of updates, we always encourage you to follow Duke Dining on social media. And I'll keep that on all of the pages just to, if you need to reference any of those. So starting off, dining plans, are they required for transfer students? Yes, all students living in university managed housing are required to enroll in a dining plan. And with your dining plan, that provides you access to over 33 or over 45 dining locations on campus, 33 of which are actual physical locations on campus. That also provides you access to food trucks and local restaurants that deliver to campus as well, known as our Merchants on Points program. So let's talk about the different types of dining plans that we offer. There are 7 plans for upperclassmen. One of those, so there's 6 plans, sorry, there's 6 plans, A, B, C, D, or E. Sorry, I'm getting all tongue-tied. We have got 5 plans, and then for our upperclassmen, 1 plan for our first year students, and then we have an additional plan for anyone that might be living on Swift Quad. So all of those plans are, you may enroll in any of those. All of that plan information is located on the Plans and Points page on the Duke Dining website. Usually the A is going to be your smallest plan, and then it'll go in order up from there, E being your largest. So if you have any questions about that, again, you can ask here, or you can feel free to call us or email us, but make sure that you visit the dining website, which will detail all of those plans and which one might be best for you. The plans are actually made up of what we call food points, and food points work as a declining debit card, so to speak. So each food point is worth $1. So if your plan has 1,000 food points on it, that's $1,000. And this will provide you access to any meals, any of the Duke Dining locations. There are other locations on campus that are not Duke Dining affiliated, so you want to make sure that you familiarize with those, with the Duke Dining locations. If you run out of food points, additional food points can be added at any point in time in $25 increments. And then food points that are left over from the fall semester, they will carry over to spring semester. After spring semester ends, those food points will go away, they'll expire. So anyone that has food allergies or dietary restrictions, we have a very robust food allergen program here. Um, all of our dining locations participate in this program. It's called the Ask Me Allergen Support Program, and it's actually a trademarked program initiative to help students with food allergies and dietary needs. Recently, this program has enabled us to obtain what's called a Fair Check Platinum recognition for 3 of our locations. That would be It's Time, which is the first top 9 allergen-free standalone dining location in the country, and then 2 locations on East Campus. And what that means, that Fair Check Platinum recognition, it's basically just the highest tier for food allergies and safety recognition provided by the Food Allergy and Research Education Association. Also, we encourage you to reach out to the Student Disability Access Office if you have any types of concerns regarding food allergies or any dietary preferences. And then they'll be able to connect you with our nutrition manager, which can help guide you through any location, all of our locations. They can set up a personal appointment where you can, again, get familiar with some of the chefs that might be able to, show you around their location and really just make you feel comfortable while dining on campus. That's really all I have. If anybody has any questions, again, go ahead and put them in the chat. Um, Dates and deadlines, all of that information is included on the plans and points page on the website. So we encourage you to visit that page just for any of that detailed information too.
Awesome. Thanks, Kirsten. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat at this point. We'll hang out for a few more minutes and respond and engage as much as we can with you. So I had a few direct messages come in, so I'll kind of recap them a little bit. Someone asked about our living learning communities on campus. So we do have living learning communities for our upper class students. There's a whole list of them on our website, and I will put a link to that list in the chat here. And so living learning communities have a house course component, so it does count for academic credit, and you have to apply in order to be a member of the LLC. And they are spread across the various 7 quads on West Campus. So that is how you can be a part of living learning communities. And we do have, and Kirsten, maybe you can jump in a little bit. Someone asked about any dining options within the residence halls. And on West, we don't have a ton because you are so close to the Broadhead Center. But Kirsten, maybe you could highlight a few for us.
Yeah, so East Campus, the way that our program is split up, we have the majority of our dining locations are located on West Campus, but we do have locations on Central and East too. As Krista mentioned, on West Campus, you're super close to the Broadhead Center, which is going to house 14 of our dining locations, and that's really kind of considered the hub of dining. In the Bryan Center, which is just a few steps further, we have 4 locations there as well. And then we do also have locations in, again, I know you're speaking specifically to residential, but just to let you know, we do have locations in some of the law school, divinity school, the library, Perkins Library, the Sanford School of Public Policy. And then the other one that is closer to residential dining, again, so to speak, is we have Pitchforks and Bella Union, and those are located over in Edens. Hope that helps.
That was great. Thank you. Someone asked about their on-campus housing, their proof of residency. Yeah, feel free to email that to us at housing@duke.edu, and we'll note the years that you have already lived on campus elsewhere. Excellent question. And someone else asked, what is the most common dining plan?
That one's tough because it really is based on how much you eat. You can start with the plan. A lot of people will start with a lower plan because you can always increase if you'd like. The lowest plan is Plan A. Um, I don't, there's really not a most common though, so to speak. It just kind of depends on what your preference for how often you eat and how much you eat.
And
So.
I think your class schedule from semester to semester can really impact that as well. So it's something that you can, before the semester begins, you can change your meal plan as you lead up and know what your class schedule is and whatnot, but it really does vary. All right, if you have any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Um, but otherwise, we really appreciate everyone joining us today. As I shared in the beginning, this session is recorded, so it'll be available to folks that can view this later on. But otherwise, the best points of contact for housing and dining would be housing at duke.edu for all of your housing needs, and then dining at duke.edu for all of your dining needs. All right, thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye-bye.